For all the time I've spent travelling through space, I haven't spent much of it actually out in space. It's unsettling. Inside the ship, I can forget how close the airless void is, how small our precious bubble of air. But outside, everything is black, like some vast creature ate all the colour in the universe first, then the air, and is now hungering for life forms too. Sometimes, those distant stars look like teeth. These are the thoughts that tend to pop up when I'm in my exosuit, hoping that my thruster pack doesn't run out of fuel before I make it back to the ship. But then, an empty pack of chips will float by my visor, and I can refocus on business. That's how it happened today, at any rate. And yes, day is a silly concept in the blackness of space. We made a detour to see if we could pick up some extra funds by gathering salvage from a museum ship that had gone kablooey, but so far all we were finding was trash. Paint jetted past in her own exosuit, upside down to my frame of reference, then stopped to pull apart a jumble of carpet fragments. "They really did clear out the good stuff already," she said over the radio. She swatted aside a drink cup with her tail, looking like a little space-suited dinosaur, a thought that kept me entertained for a good few seconds. Captain Sunlight's voice said, "Keep an eye out for scrap metal. That may already be gone too, but it's worth a shot." She was somewhere else in the drifting junk pile, or maybe back near the ship. I couldn't tell. There was too much stuff in the way. This was a mildly alarming thought. Out of sight meant out of safety. But I caught a glimpse of the Frillian twins posted as safety guards at the edge of the cloud, and my heartbeat settled a bit. "Do you think anyone will buy some mildly used carpet?" Paint asked the captain. "It's only in several pieces." "Let's go with no." "What about some very exotic... what is this? Napkins? Made with authentic earthwood fibres?" I looked over at that. "How can you tell?" "Oh, I have no idea," Paint said. She held up half of a wall placard. "But this is from the Earth exhibit, so maybe the napkins are too." I looked around at the trash in a new light. Man, it's a pity we weren't here for any of the good stuff. "Yeah, and all these food packages are empty. We can't even get you a slightly exploded taste of home." I waved my hand through a cluster of soda bottles. I appreciate the thought. Paint jetted over to a different pile of whatever. "Hey, do you think any of this food trash was actually an exhibit? Packaging from olden days?" Maybe," I said. "Probably not. That's not the sort of thing I'd expect on a multi-species museum ship. A janky little humans-only one, maybe. But even then, most people aren't going to care." Something clunked against the back of my helmet. I hate that. Nothing like a reminder that I can't see behind me like some species can. I toggled the jets to rotate in place, so I could find the offending object. It was a rock. "What's this doing here?" I asked, closing a gloved hand around it and bringing it in for a closer look. "What did you find?" Paint asked, sticking out sideways from behind a twisted bench. "A rock." "A meteorite rock?" she asked. "Oh, hey, do you think it pierced the hull?" "No, it doesn't look like a space rock," I said, turning the small grey and white lump over. It was mostly smooth, with a divot that would have fit a fingertip if I hadn't been wearing the gloves. Weird. I wonder if it was part of some Neolithic exhibit or something. "Can I see?" Paint jetted over to park herself in roughly the same orientation as me. She was very good with that jetpack. I showed her the rock. It doesn't look like any gemstone I know. Maybe some kid had it in their pocket, then threw it away. Paint cocked her head. "Is that normal, for you're young to carry rocks around?" "Sure. You never picked up something you thought was neat as a kid?" "Not a rock," Paint said, with exaggerated disdain. "A sweet-smelling sea nut or herb, absolutely." "But look, it's even got a little finger groove," I pointed out. "You could stick it in a pocket and rub it for luck." "Could you?" I smiled. "You could. You probably wouldn't, but why?" I looked at the rock again, already fond of it. I get the feeling that I couldn't explain this to a point where you'd agree. Paint shrugged. Probably not. But hey, we found you a souvenir after all. From probably the Earth section of whatever museum this is. She grabbed a handful of colourful pamphlets drifting by. The Galaxy in a Bottle Museum tour ship. Who named that? My smile turned into a wide grin. Humans. Paint grumbled about the unflattering comparison of an elite starship to a simple bottle. When she moved to toss the pamphlets away, I held out a hand. What's that white one? I asked. It looks like a display sign. Paint flipped over the stack and separated the one I meant. You're right. Hey, it's about a rock. I reached out a grabby hand. Gimme. She passed it over. Is it that rock? I read the title, then was gut-punched by familiarity. I'd heard about this. Yes, I managed, skimming the rest of the sign and holding the rock close. This is Betham's rock. What? I fumbled to explain. Ages ago, a kid visited a museum, a human kid, and learned what museums were for, then offered her favourite rock as a donation so other people could appreciate it too. Paint cocked her head in the other direction. And they took it? Yes. I must have looked a little wild at this point, but I didn't care. The adults agreed that it was a fine thing to donate, not to mention adorable, and the only one of its kind that I've ever heard of. More museums should house the occasional favourite rock, though I suppose they wouldn't be as special if they did. So, just to clarify, Paint said, there isn't anything valuable about this rock except that one of your youths decided there was, and all the adults played along. I smiled down at it, careful not to let it drift away. It's the most precious non-precious stone I've ever seen. Paint stared for a moment. It's not even one of those shiny ones you like. I laughed. I know. The captain called us back in at that point, having found one decent chunk of metal among the mountains of trash. We had a schedule to keep. I folded the sign and tucked it into my suit pocket, but held the rock tight in my fist as I jetted toward the ship, working the controls with one hand. I was already thinking of the safest place in my quarters to keep it, until we got a hold of the proper Earth Museum authorities. Other humans would want to see Betham's rock, after all, but it would be my honour to watch over it, until they could.